Luis, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda.
Second.
Motion by Gabe, second by Fikers. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. This time we'll open the meeting up for any public comment for anything that isn't already on the agenda. Is there anyone in the room that would like to address the Brown County Commission on any issue? Anyone on the phone or out there on the internet? Any comments at all? Go ahead, Larry.
Dwayne, I just thank you for inviting and coming to the meeting today. I'm Larry Baumgarten from Webster, and I'm one of the nominees for the state representative for District 1, which is part of Brown County, Day County, Roberts County, and a small part of Marshall. And tonight is the meeting at 7 o'clock at Bristol for the Republican Party. Hopefully I get the nomination. And if that's the case, I'll be on the ballot in November for District 1. So I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you, Larry.
You bet.
Thanks for coming over. Anyone else? Hearing and seeing none, next item on their agenda is first reading of the rezone ordinances, 219 through 221. Dave, do you have those?
They were in the...
I didn't see them in the packet, I didn't know if you brought them in with you.
I didn't have them, I have no idea.
We'll need to read those before we can act on those, so if you can line those up, we'll move that down on the agenda, go on to the next item, so if you can have someone take copies. All right, we'll move that to the lower part of the agenda while we get copies so that we can have first reading. Next item on the agenda is moratorium regarding the Summit CO2 pipelines. Do we have our state's attorney here at all?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Ernest.
Morning.
After a couple lively discussions the last couple of weeks, we asked our state's attorney to draft a copy of a proposed resolution for us to consider that would place a moratorium on any and all pipelines, hazardous pipelines in Frog County. And we have copies of that proposed resolution that I believe we've passed out. I believe they were provided to the commissioners last week. Has everyone had a chance to review it? Read through it. Do you have any questions, suggestions, additions, or questions for the state's attorney? They're the ones that drafted it.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead.
might start by thanking Ernest, thank you. I think it was 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, the resolution showed up, and I think it's a good one. Kind of covers everything that we need to have covered, and I guess I'd like to see us move forward with it.
Is there anyone here to speak to this proposed resolution? Anyone in the audience that has questions, comments?
Yeah, I don't see anything in here about renewing this ever. I know it was talked about last week, it's gonna be 1 or 2 years.
As far as renewing it, the way I understand it, after a year, this one would expire, and then it would be up to us to see where we're at that point, and possibly pass a new resolution. Is that fairly accurate?
Correct. Or could this resolution be extended? I guess the first question is it final in a year, or could it be extended? Could that very resolution be extended?
the way the wording is on this, now the statute gives you 1 year, and you can extend it another year, but that would take another act and another resolution. It could be as simple as a resolution extending the current resolution for another year. The way I have this worded is the opportunity to complete the review process or up to 1 year. At the 1 year mark, this resolution expires, and the commission would have to take another action to extend it.
So that will be an option, a year from the date that this is enacted, if it's necessary.
And that's one of the things that it triggers, is a review process. It's not where you can put a moratorium on it and say, okay, we're just gonna wait and see. It puts the responsibility on the planning and zoning department and the county to review whatever information they can to essentially show in good faith that they're trying to figure out what reasonable restrictions they can put on at the end of the moratorium, correct?
Correct. It's not just a moratorium and you're done for the sake of a moratorium. It has a specific purpose to give time to conduct the review.
And so that's why I have some reservations about taking this action now, considering the fact that we have the most restrictive ordinances in place of anyone who has ordinances regarding this type of a pipeline. So I have concerns about the timing of doing this, although because it's so well drafted and so specific about it, and there's so much pressure to do this, I have those reservations that the timing is right to do it now. But I am gonna support this resolution because it is well done, and I agree with Commissioner Fikert that it is well done. And we appreciate the efforts of the State's Attorney's Office in doing that, so we minimize the potential for unintended consequences of taking this action.
Dwayne.
Go ahead, Dennis.
And I just might comment too, I think our depth ordinance is excellent. There might be some questions about the setback, about the 1,500 feet of setback. And this would give us an opportunity, or give the Planning and Zoning Board the opportunity to actually look at that setback. So, I think it's important.
Are there any other comments? Dan, did you have some comments?
Yeah,
You bet, come on up.
Please do. Thank you. Yeah, I've been working with Summit here since last October, and I want to say, first of all, thank you all for giving me time last year to present in front of the commission and talk a little bit about the project. You know, I think there's been a lot of discussion here at the commission level about the pipeline and the ordinances, and you all have taken action on setting those ordinances. A lot of that has been with input from your folks here from Brown County, some from Spink or McPherson County as well, having input. If we took and we divided up the amount of time that has been used in front of you to talk about the project, I would have to say that a majority of it has been opposition that's come before you. And I think there's a lot of other things that need to be discussed. Mainly the safety issues. I know that a lot of things have been raised here at the commission. I haven't been privy to a lot of it, but I've heard about some of the comments that have been made. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there that can be corrected if given time for the pipeline company to talk a little bit. And there's also the economic impact. I know that you all received an Ernst & Young study, talks about the jobs, talks about the tax revenue that would come to the county. But one thing that hasn't really been discussed that would be new to the county, that I urge you to postpone voting on this, is taking input from the industries that are right here in Brown County. Recently, we had one of your ethanol plants come on board with another pipeline navigator, the Poet plant out of Groton. Locally, we have one here near Aberdeen that's with us, Glacial Lakes. And what I would ask is that the commission take some time to look at this moratorium and take in more input from industry leaders in your area, because we've heard from folks that, you've heard a lot from folks. Some of the information, I believe, can be corrected. Other types of topics too, about safety and about contact with your highway superintendent, with your, for survey crews. We would like more time to be able to work with the county. We're here as partners to work with you. This is a big project. If it does get completed, it'll be the largest carbon capture project in the world. It's a huge benefit to the ethanol industry, which has a pretty big economic footprint in your county. So there's a lot of different folks that rely on the ethanol industry, and there's a lot of different ins and outs with this type of project that not just affects ethanol as a whole, but when you talk about the competition between the ethanol plants that might be in Indiana, Illinois, Montana, they have different things about their geology that they're able to store their carbon locally. But here, we're restricted because we don't have that geological formation underground to store it. It has to be piped. A lot of this information we've been able to get out in front of other counties by being able to have some extra time to talk about it. I would urge that you postpone it, give us a chance to come back, talk to y'all, and if you have anything that you want set up as far as a forum where we can address some of the public's concerns, we'd be willing to do that too. I have with me Trevor Jones. He's our regulatory affairs manager. You might know him. He was the former Secretary of Public Safety for the state of South Dakota. So a lot of these concerns about safety, I feel that we can address. There's also things that, you know, as far as notice for surveys, we'd like to be able to work with your local law enforcement, with your emergency responders, about letting them know where those survey crews are going to be. Moratorium is can be construed as an adversarial action where we're here to partner with you and work with you and try to get solutions to any problems that y'all have. If there's an issue with a survey crew, we'd like to work with you every week and make sure that you're notified when those crews are coming, where they're going to be. We don't want you all to have any surprises. We want to be palms up and upfront with you. But we'd ask for delay on this so we have some time to talk to you, and also set up any type of forums with the public to take any concerns into consideration, because we want to be good partners with Brown County. So, thank you.
Okay.
I'll stand by for questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So, can I ask a
Yes,
couple
sir.
questions, sir? What's your timeline on then for people to come in and speak to us on this?
That's a good question. What happened recently with the PUC, they granted an extension on the application. So that's another reason why I was going to say about the moratorium. We have a lot more time. You all have taken quick action on the ordinances, but there is time, because instead of now being January, where we would have hearings in Pierre, it looks like it's going to be closer to March, April, even May, is when the PUC would actually take this up. So as far as a permit being granted, it's several months out. There's plenty of time for review. I could see if this thing was going to be permitted in November or December, where you would all want to have some type of a stopgap to give you time. But with the extension, we have several months, 8 months, to work on ordinances and some need to be changed. I agree with Commissioner Fiker. Some of the setbacks will have to be reviewed. You got to cover. I think there's. I know you've gotten some correspondence from your the insurance association about moratoriums where they've pushed back a little bit on that, but they've supported some of the ordinances you all have done with certain guidelines. So I believe that your Planning and Zoning Commission does have to do some more work, but I believe there's at least 8 months of time for people to come forward and give input for the commission. We're always here for you too if you have any questions, but we need to do a better job to getting before the commission. I'll admit that we can be here more and you can communicate better with your commission, and I look forward to doing that. I think that this moratorium has some unintended consequences when you talk about not allowing any agreements. We have road haul use agreements that will have to be reviewed. There'll be other little permits that our non-environmental permitting company has been working with John, Turnkey Logistics has been working with your county. It also ties the hands of the commission where not everybody at this table may be here in 8 months because of the elections. Whereas you'd be tying the hands of the next commission, and let's say they want to make some changes or have some road haul use agreements or something, a permit of some sort granted, they would have to undo this moratorium to allow some of those minor permits and agreements to take place. And that might be a heavy lift for a different county commission board if your makeup is different. But thanks for the question.
Go ahead.
But as far as in front of the commission, I mean, my question is, so you don't have a timeline of anybody coming to speak to us that is for this, like industry leaders as ethanol or anything like that, is that correct then?
I spoke with Glacial Lakes yesterday. They couldn't be here today because they're loading cars in Mina right now, so they've had to have a lot of their folks from the plant go there. This is fairly sudden for us as far as the moratorium. The agenda did only come out yesterday, and I just saw the resolution, 10 minutes ago. If we had more time, I'm sure the industry leaders would want to engage and have some input before a moratorium is passed.
My question is, okay, this, I know it came up, it's published, people know about it, but this isn't the first meeting we've had to address this issue. I mean, not just the moratorium, but I'm talking about the pipeline in general. And it seems like there is not very many people that ever show up here for it. I mean, we have a room full of people that are against it, and it would be nice to see you guys or ethanol leaders at these, and I believe they've had ample opportunities. This is open meeting and public and knowledge for everybody at all times. I mean, so I'm just kind of wondering where they are all at. I mean, I'd like to hear from them, but I mean, if they're not here, we can't hear from them. So, I mean, I'm just wondering, where are they?
Okay, well, I understand, and I agree, we need to do a better job of communicating. And if you give us a little bit of time, I know that the ethanol industry is very interested in this. Part of the reason why we have to do this is because the other ethanol companies are able to store underground. We are not in this area. And there's been studies done to try to figure out different ways to store the carbon without piping. But that's what the conclusion has come to, is that it needs to be taken somewhere to be sequestered. This is a huge uplift for the sale of ethanol from these plants. So to put a moratorium on the building of a project that would help our ethanol industry, especially with the amount of economic impact you have from ethanol here in Brown County, I think would be detrimental for the economic impact of this county. But these are things that we can discuss more at length if we are given more time and notice of the meetings, and it's not your fault. But we want to be able to have that time to talk with you. This is a big project, and this is still early in the stages of the process, and we would hate to have the moratorium shut down some of those agreements and discussions that we have with the county going forward. We're not asking you to abandon the moratorium, but we're asking for more time so that we can discuss it. Dennis?
Well, it'd be my thought, I guess, that if there were individuals from the ethanol plants here, or board members or CEOs or whatever, that they could have concerns, or would potentially have concerns about liability if a pipe was to burst in proximity to their facility, and as well as it leaves that facility. So it might be interesting to, for lack of a better word, put them on the spot as to what their actual feeling is as to where that pipe is going to be and what that setback should be. And so I guess I, along with Commissioner Gage, would say that, I would think if they really had concerns that we would have heard, we'd have had phone calls, we'd have heard from them. I know for a fact that there are housing developments that are very close to where this pipeline is going to go, and I think they've heard so much propaganda about how much revenue this is going to bring into the community that I think they kind of, throw their hands in the air. On one hand, oh my God, we're going to get millions and millions of money from this project, and oversold propaganda, and when in fact, I think that if Summit Carbon Solutions was really upfront, they would take those numbers that Ernst & Young produced, the numbers that they got from Summit Solutions in order to make that document, and they'd sign a contract that said, this is how much, this is what Ernst & Young said Brown County's gonna get and how much McPherson County's gonna get, so we're gonna sign it. Because I know for a fact that up to 3 months ago, there was no contact with the Department of Revenue and Pierre. Those are numbers that were pulled out of the sky from your company, and, I mean, they're bogus. It's that simple.
Go ahead, Doug.
A moratorium doesn't restrict you from coming to us in the future, or the ethanol plants come to us in the future and present your case. And also, under state's attorney's question, the moratorium can be for a year, but that doesn't mean the commission can resolve it earlier than that, am I correct? That's a state's attorney question.
Well, it allows for a period of review, and upon completion of that review, if it's decided the resolution can go away at that point, then yeah, we conducted the review, ended up with our findings, and then we enact those findings, that would make this null and void, the way I read it.
That was the intent, when I said completing the review or up
Right.
to a year.
Right.
You
So then
complete
if
the
the
review and
case-
be done, you don't have to wait the full year.
The moratorium really does not affect you from coming to the commission with the ethanol plants and carbon solution, presenting your facts and your side. So that moratorium, in a sense, does not really hinder that. Would I be correct in saying that?
It doesn't keep us from having a conversation, but I think it does shut down some of the actions that would need to be taken between now and the end of the permitting, as far as working with your highway superintendent, working with different departments of your county. We do have a lot of non-environmental permitting that needs to happen, and we're looking at working with the county to achieve all of those before we get to the final PUC permit. But I'm here as a representative for Summit to ask that you postpone this passing, give us a chance to answer some of your concerns, listen to what you have for issues, and try to address them as best as we can.
Do you have a comment?
Yep, I got a couple. Well, thank you for the sob story and everything there, how bad it is and how we're all anti-ethanol. When I know there's investors and people that haul corn in here, now we all depend on this ethanol game. And you guys are just coming in and trying to take money from the government to do this, get paid for the carbon, and in 3 years you're gonna sell this to an oil company to frack with it. The writing's on the wall, it's been out there, it's all done. And we can go back to your studies, this Ernst & Young that you feel is so good, just got fined $100 million for the wake of their employees cheating on ethics exams and getting information from Summit. Can you believe that stuff looks good, that they're feeding the place, giving the numbers? Sully County asked them about the numbers, and they told them it was gonna be $750,000, turned out it's closer to $50,000. These guys have had plenty of time to call the highway department and ask about surveying and all that stuff. They've been doing this for 6 months out there in the country, running around, harassing little old ladies, doing all this stuff. So don't act like you guys are so transparent to everybody. There's neighborhoods here that have never even heard about this stuff until the other day. You don't put anything out there. I'm in favor of you guys going forward with this moratorium. 4 more studies on this. And you're plowing through my backyard, my cow-calf operation and feedlot. But no one cares about any of that stuff at all. You want it in your backyard? I'll guarantee not. You know this is a whole bigger setup, a money grab. And maybe we can get this county to go with the moratorium, and I think you're gonna have more counties follow. The PUC told us to come to our counties, and you guys are doing your job representing the people, how they see it. Like you just said, been way more people opposed to this than for it at any of these meetings, and that goes out to the big meeting, the Summit Solutions put on out at the Ramcota out there, so, I mean, I haven't been to one where they think it's for it. A few people might be for it, it's not in their backyard, nowhere near them. there's a sale barn right across the road from this, they didn't even know about this until I tell them. So talk about being transparent. And the ethanol plants have had plenty of time, this stuff's out there, the propaganda's all over how good this is, so that's my thoughts on it. And I know you get a lot of other people agree the same way. There's people that aren't here, we just can't come to every meeting and to drag this out and drag this out. I mean, I'm sure you guys are tired of listening to me talk up here, but, that's my thoughts on it. Just, we're the people, and, I mean, we're responders, everything else. There's nothing in the books on what's supposed to happen with this. There's so much that is not answered, and maybe you guys will get with the program and answer that then if the moratorium's on. So, you guys got a lot to get done, because Brown County's got their stuff figured out, so.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, Freddie.
They're talking about time. They've been in the area for months, digging in county roads, township roads, not talking to the DOT. They're just selfish, and they're doing what they want to do when they want to do it. And now they want more time because there's a threat of a moratorium. I don't know how you can work with people like that.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other comments? All right, if not, we'll close the hearing to any action by the commission.
I would make a motion that we move forward with the moratorium as presented by our state's attorney's office.
There's a motion by Fikert,
I'll second.
second by Gage, to move forward and approve the proposed resolution that we have before us. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The resolution will be approved and signed and effective on this day.
And
for 1 year.
delivered to the
For up to
PUC.
1 year. Thank you, everyone, for your input. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to come in and testify. And,
We'll go from here.
we'll see what the future holds for all of us, so thank you.
Thank you all for coming back.
Dan.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
I don't think he can.
We're gonna walk 4 blocks from your office, take my parking spot.
All right,
Bring pens or pencils?
Before we move on to the highway department, update, we have.
Oh, I didn't have to. Oh. I had to
We
park
have the
over at the
ordinance.
RNA, do shake a day on my way over.
This is old stash, you must have been digging in there.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I know they don't have these anymore, I like this.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks for coming.
See you tonight. All right, we'll back up and deal with these ordinances. We have copies of them now.
I don't see his checkbook.
I got 3.
Goodbye, Craig.
20 and 21.
Okay, yep. First up, rezone ordinance number 219.
Ordinance 219, an ordinance amending Title 4, Second Division, Brown County Ordinances, as amended to rezone certain described property. Be it ordained by the Brown County Commission, Brown County, South Dakota, that the petition to amend Title 4, Second Division, Brown County Ordinances, as amended to rezone the following described property, filed by Clarence and Lori Habick, is hereby granted, and Title 4, Second Revision, Brown County Ordinances is hereby amended to change the zoning of the following described property from Chapter 4.06 Agricultural Preservation District, AGP, to Chapter 4.14 Highway Commercial District, H-C. The proposed lot 1, Jim and Lori Ventures Edition in northwest quarter of Section 9-T123N-R63W of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota.
All right, ordinance number 219.
Move it.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Fikert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Ordinance 220.
221, isn't it?
220. That was 219, this is 220.
That's three of them.
An ordinance amending Title IV Second Revision, Brown County ordinances as amended to rezone certain described property. Be it ordained by the Brown County Commission, Brown County, South Dakota, that the petition to amend Title IV Second Revision, Brown County ordinances as amended to rezone the following described property filed by Doan and Christine Bruns is hereby granted and Title IV Section Revision, Brown County ordinances hereby amended to change the zoning on the following described property from Chapter 4.06 Agricultural Preservation District, AGP, to Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District, M-AG. The Bruns Outlot 1 in the southeast quarter of Section 28-T122N-R62W of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota.
All right, is there anyone here to speak to this ordinance? I failed to ask that at the first one. Is there anyone here to speak to this ordinance? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move.
Motion by Gage, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Ordinance 221, ordinance amending Title IV Second Revision, Brown County ordinances as amended to rezone certain described properties. Be it ordained by the Brown County Commission, Brown County, South Dakota, that the petition to amend Title IV Second Revision, Brown County ordinances as amended to rezone the following described property filed by Jeremy and Lindsay Lesner is hereby granted, and Title IV Second Revision, Brown County ordinances is hereby amended to change the zoning on the following described property from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District, AGP, to Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District, MAG. Lot 2, Hagman First Subdivision in the southeast quarter of Section 26-T124N-R63W of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Fikert, second by Feldheim. Is there anyone here to speak to this ordinance? Or this resolution, or excuse me, ordinance? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, takes care of our first reading of ordinances. Now we will move on to Richmond Lake Road Research Update.
So I just handed you that real rudimentary document there. And this is just so we got some numbers that, and this is a little bit of a pick and choose deal too, depending on what you did. Neil had gotten that $181,000 number last week, and so instead of reinventing the wheel, I talked to Steve Solway to see what all that entailed, and that was basically for the paving, and he's comfortable that that's an accurate number and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't include, according to him, that doesn't include any prep on the road. I don't really know, I haven't looked at that as something we were gonna pave ever, so I don't know what that is, but if you go down to prep for paving and blotter, that 30 grand in there, that's basically what that is. So whether you do the blotter or the paving, and that number might be too high, if it's okay, you wouldn't have to put as much gravel in there, but that's figuring in that you'd have to throw a little gravel in there, like 2-3 inches. And then, in addition to that, since the highway forces, we won't be doing it, so we'll have to have somebody design it and bid it, so there'll be a little cost with that. And then, so that's the $20,000, and the bottom's a future seal coat cost. Currently, that's not something we'll have to spend, but if it's a blotter, we'll probably do it in like 3 years. You wanna get on them a little sooner. If it ends up being a full, pavement deal, then you can wait maybe 4 or 5 years before you do it. But anyway, that will be an additional cost that we don't have, at this time. Then the stuff up on top, that grading, that's my really awesome drawing I got on there. My point is, all that does is at 60,000 yards, the dirt will balance, so you don't have to bring any dirt in there or take any out unless it's real crappy. But what happens is you still are gonna have a little bit of a curve in there. You'll be able to see, but it isn't like it'll be flat all the way through there. If you wanted to bring more dirt in to the project, you could, obviously raise that, make that flatter in there. but then you'd have to add some dirt. And that's what my fancy sketch is showing you there. That's just sort of meets the middle there between those two hills.
So let me,
Yeah, I mean, this is just a little,
Shave a little and fill a little.
yeah, and then these numbers are just kind of giving you outline, but you, depending, like, if you do the grading, you don't need to do the 3,000 prep work, because that would be included in the grading and stuff like that, so.
Is that stretch eligible for a blotter surface with the traffic, in your opinion?
Well, with the traffic count, yeah, but we'd have to look and see if you got we have 500-600 car roads that are blotters. I mean, that's not, they require more maintenance, but, it could be a blotter. But like I said, you still have to do, you gotta do some kind of analysis and see what's underneath there. And obviously, right at the soft spot there, you know, you probably will see if that gets any better, but do something more aggressive there.
okay, so if I can.
Go ahead, Mike.
Let me clarify, the grading, and it's an estimate, we understand that,
Yep.
but you're talking about using existing materials, so you're not bringing any new material in.
Right.
But reshaping what's there, taking the high spots down a bit, filling
Yeah.
in the low spots a little bit, which would also include, within the restrictions of what we have for right-of-way, expanding the
Yep.
shoulders
Yep.
to better accommodate some of the traffic when we've got
Yep.
bigger ag equipment and people exceeding which a reasonable speed to be chasing around out there and some of the rest of those kinds of things. And so your estimate's 300,000 and change to do that with existing material?
Yep, and that's, that number, that 550 a yard is sort of a guess, and maybe Mr. Belly could have more input on that, but, that's a number I plucked off of some state stuff.
Okay.
And a few other things that have been bid recently. We so rarely do, I mean, that's super minor even in terms of amount, but we just haven't been moving dirt for many years or we mess with it that much, so.
Okay.
I don't have an accurate number really.
That's fine, but you're anticipating using existing material within that stretch to do that?
Sure. So, like, if you go
Over
into
the-
a...
right.
Right. So if you go into a dirt job, just in general,
Yeah.
you pick 2 points and you want the dirt to balance in there at a reasonable distance. It's such a short job, it doesn't really matter. But if you wanted to make the whole thing flat, so that where the gravel starts and the gravel ends is all, you know, just one continuous grade through there, you would have to bring in more material. That's sort of the happy medium,
Mhm.
where you don't have to add any more material, you'll just be cutting the hills down. I do want to qualify, you said a little bit and a little bit. I mean, as far as how it'll impact the road will be pretty substantial. I mean, you're basically gonna tear the whole thing out and build it back. It's not
Reshape it,
where you're
broader
just working on the
less-
shoulders and stuff. I mean, that's something
Right.
where you, right.
Different because of the terrain, but it's similar to what we did with 6-8 25 years ago.
6A. Oh, yeah.
Those are around the east side.
Yep, yep.
I mean, you're gonna reconstruct the thing, you're gonna tear it apart, and you're actually gonna reconstruct it.
And that's what that is. The main
Okay.
goal, the one difference I wanna make there, Mike, is on 6, when we completely redid that had a lot to do with what was underneath there.
Correct.
It wasn't so much that you had
Right.
troubling grades,
Right.
but, you know,
But the
you get to
process you're
the
gonna go
same-
through is
you end up
rebuild
in the
the
same
thing.
place.
Right,
yeah.
you're not just gonna fix the top 3 inches
Right.
of surface.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Basically, what you're saying is you would start right at about the point where the pavement ends now.
Yep.
You wouldn't go any further east than that, but that's where the dirt part project would start. From there,
Going west.
going west.
Yep. And it doesn't go all the way to the end either. I mean,
Yeah, dirt
and
project.
actually, the first thing you just said here, it's, you know, there's a little piece that, I call it a plateau, whatever you want to.
Mhm.
Right.
This is the one of 2 spots in the county we have any hills, but,
Yeah, there's the landfill.
it's not, that number, and that's, if I hadn't just scribbled on my really crappy graph there about an hour before I walked up here, it doesn't, like Neil's saying, that doesn't go all the way to the end. It goes to where it's flat, so without looking, it's probably, you know, you got a 1/10 of a mile on the east end. The west end, I think you got a little bit longer area.
I guess
up on the...
clear up my question or thought was that it's not gonna interfere with the curve as it is right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, we won't be back that way at all. And now that I'm sitting here visualizing it, it actually stops before you get to the or the lagoons. Before you get to the lagoons, you're up on the high elevation.
Right.
So it's basically from the east side of Lagoons over to maybe a tenth of a mile from, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Neil, did you have a question?
Well, yeah, Dirk, did you have
Yep.
a little bit of that on that balance, were you figuring widen those two spots that are kind of steep on there, trying to probably cheat a little bit on your balance and widen those two spots?
That,
That one area's about 150 feet long, the other one's about 250, that are just pretty much straight down to the culverts down there, so you gotta probably have to extend them culverts a little bit and reshape that going down there.
he accommodated for that.
Okay.
And then the way that the cross-section actually looks is you got like a 8-to-1 or 10-to-1 for so many feet.
Yep.
And then, you know, as you get out there, there's another hinge point out there and it'll go down steeper.
Yep.
But yeah, that's figured in there.
It isn't gonna take that trouble once you start.
No, and there's places that, I mean, Mike's got a big pile at the landfill he's been trying to get rid of.
With this, you'd probably be replacing the culverts too, under there.
If we do this, yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't know what you got for culverts.
Right.
What condition they're in. If you spend that kind of money, you definitely want to make sure that you have new culverts in there for sure.
Did you state last week that there may be an issue that you would have to involve GF&P with some of the shoulder work?
Yeah, I can't remember what it is, and that would be if you're gonna do this full grading thing, you know.
Okay.
On the north side.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what you had stated.
Yeah,
regarding
and-
GF&P.
That's, when we looked at this, I don't know, it was a long time ago, but when we looked at doing some flattening them hills out, before, so I had some of the survey for this dirt. We had some of the data already, but that was one of the complications. And the other thing, I can't tell you if, when he did this, if he took into consideration that we can't take dirt from that side, or much dirt, or, you know what I mean? So, that's a side process. I guess that's another factor, but, shouldn't be prohibitive. I mean, if you gotta work on one side, you can do it. It's just a little weird.
Okay. Anything else we wanna ask while we have Dirk
So
here?
hypothetically, if you grade it and you get it stable and you blotter it, that would be stable.
Yep.
Get your broader shoulders and be stable enough that you can maintain the blotter, or if at some point, if you chose to, you could actually pave over that with minimal prep to go along with that, to go that next step.
The thing with blotters and asphalt or pavement, full paving, in my opinion, in my experience, your prep former is almost identical.
Right.
You know, and, if you have the base that's good and solid, we've had some blotters, you know, that, if you ever driven, State 10 all the way over to the river, all the way over to Doug's homeland over there, you're gonna drive on some blotter there, and if you take 20 West River, you're on a blotter. I mean, they're not, it's more about the base than the top.
Right, and that was my point. If we're gonna dig into this deal, we're gonna put anything on the surface, we gotta get a good base underneath it, if we're seriously gonna do it.
Mike, the biggest thing with Dirk talking about the blotter is it would be serious dust control, which is one of our main safety issues. You know, even if we don't even put guardrails in, but if you can get rid of the dust, it just makes a huge difference. And then, Dirk would be out there always trying to beat up that washboard that gets so bad on that corner because everybody's accelerating there. And it's a constant deal, right, Dirk, on that corner, it's just terrible.
So we'd relieve the soft spot, we'd relieve the dips in there, we'd have broader shoulders, and we'd have a controlled surface.
So, the other thing I'll add, and I didn't put this option on here, is what we've done. And, I mean, I made it clear to most of you where I'm at on the topic, so, I mean, just to let you know, my recommendation is continue doing what we're doing. I know they don't like it, and, you know, it won't make it go away. But, by me giving you these numbers, and I'll do as directed, step by step anyway. But I'm not saying that I think we should do any of these, okay? I was directed to bring you numbers, and here's the numbers, so.
Okay, so, well, we're playing what if then, so if we do the grading in the blotter,
Yep.
because this is kind of an à la carte.
Yep,
You know, I'm not trying
That was
to
the
play-
word I was thinking of when I
Right,
wrote it down.
not trying to play stupid here, but okay, which numbers are we talking about then?
So-
It'd be about $428,000.
Yeah, so you'd have,
And if you do the paving, it's $561,000.
well, there's a few things, let's see. So, like I said, these are round numbers. If you do the grading, then you just throw on either the paving or the blotter, one or the other. You don't gotta worry about, nice English, you do not have to worry about the prep for the paving or the blotter, because that'll be taken care of with your, you know, your
Right.
big number up there.
Okay,
The engineering part of that's gonna go up a little bit. There'll be more inspection, more time and all that kind of stuff. And you got the future seal cost either way on any of them. So, if you're gonna grade it and pave it, you'd be looking at what, 511 plus, let's just say 30 grand more for engineering and 30 grand for your future seal costs, but
okay, so we're grading with a grader of a blade pretty frequently out there, whatever that costs and stuff. So if we were to do the grading, the blotter, and the engineering, say 25. then we're
Yeah.
Just spitballing.
yeah, you might be a little late there, but.
So you got 330, 48, say 28, 640, just north of 400,000.
And you got that extra in your budget, right?
That's the blotter part, right?
Right.
Yeah, that conversation's gonna be not very pleasant either, so,
Well, that's
the
the next,
budget discussion.
well, that's the next, the next one of two questions. If you were directed to do it, when would it happen?
What wouldn't happen this year?
Okay. So the question's moved for this year, but it would be valid for next year. If this is what you're directed to do, what aren't you going to do?
If you guys don't fund that, but like I said, I went through,
So if there's an extra 400,000, fine, right?
if there's an extra 400,000, fine, but I wanna,
Where'd you-
I'm trying to
where'd you
delineate.
find
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're
but
not
here we
putting me
are.
on the spot at all, I have
But
no
we're-
problem.
We're hashing this deal out.
That's right. Realize that I'm gonna say,
What you think, and that's why
Right.
you're here.
so, okay, back to the extra 400,000. If you guys, if I submit my budget today, which I'm still 400 and I cut her to the bone and I'm still about 55, half a million short, okay? And we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. So, if you come to me and say, hey, we have an extra 400,000, here you go, I'm not spending it on this road. If you give me an extra 400,000 and say that has to be spent on that road, I would prefer that is above and beyond my other requests, so we don't have to replace anything.
Right.
If we're gonna replace anything, I'll show you what we're doing next year. We're doing four things next year. We're doing that bridge, we're doing that bridge, we're gonna pave back this thing that we kicked the can down the road from this year, and that's the backbreaker right there. That's gonna be about 2.3 million if nothing gets more expensive than it is today, just for that, okay? And whatever we got left, which is gonna be about 1.6, 1.7 million for asphalt, is going on this blue line here. That's what we're doing next year. So, if you're gonna replace it, I'll take you up and we'll have a meeting up at Columbia and we can tell them why we're gonna wait even more now on their stuff. Or this up here, which, Commissioner Fikert, other than this mile out here, this is apparently the busiest truck traffic. So, I mean, we got a lot of truck traffic up here. I don't know, I guess you could pave some of that, half of it, and then pave the rest of next year and leave part of it gravel for 2 years, but.
Or 2 or 3 years down the road.
Right. So anyway, that's all we're doing. There's the blue line there, this that got kicked back from this year, and those 2 bridges.
Yeah, 'cause how many years did it take us to get from Bath to the county line?
Oh, God, we're not done yet. The first 6 miles, the first 6 miles out there never have gotten touched. Our 9-mile project ended up in the 3, And then, of course, we got, I'm pointing at the wrong one, but we got
Yep.
this 6 miles and the 6 miles south of Richmond are the two that are actually 20-some years old and have survived, but those are the only two roads I know of that do that.
They're likely to fall off the table soon too, if we don't give them some attention, right?
This one's good. Well, they're good. These
Right,
are all good. This is as far as the big problem, it's this. You know, we applied for that grant, I don't know how many years ago, and didn't get it, and we still haven't done anything with it.
Right.
So, I guess if that scenario played out, my preference would be that but I mean, I know I've been stumbling around here long enough with knowing that some years the budget does this and some years it does that, and you got a very strange situation now where, you know, no matter what, we're losing like 5-6%, even if we could raise the budget 3%, we're losing, you know, and everybody is. I mean, I'm not standing up here whining because we're in a different situation. The
Well,
only
that's our job.
Right, no, I know that, but I'm,
That's where, you know, we take 2 minutes to talk about that.
Right.
We're working off of last year's CPI, which is garbage to begin with, which is less than 2 points, it's less than 1.5 points, while inflation's running 7, 8, 9%, and bless their heart, the state and the cities are keeping up with that with their sales tax without increasing taxes. We're on property taxes when we got that limitation. Next year, because we're a year behind, we'll get 3, which doesn't get us anywhere close to the 9, trying to keep up with this and all the rest of the stuff that we're doing. So that's our job.
Yep.
To point that out, so.
Yes.
Well, it puts you as highway superintendent in a tough spot out there in the public, because you've already been scrutinized because of not finishing a project. You
Right.
do 5 or 6 miles and you cut it off, everybody wants to know, why didn't you finish the project? And the only explanation you can give is, I don't have the money, I
Right.
can't finish it. If I'm gonna give a little bit to this part of the county, a little bit to this part of the county, and not finish any projects, then you're backed in a corner. Down the road, you got problems.
You point out something too that's happened, and I think subconsciously I do this a little bit, but you remember a couple of years ago, we had an opportunity where we paved 16, 17 miles of Road 14. Of course, we did it wrong and didn't pave the right parts of it and all that, but at any rate, we did a long segment of it. Last year and this year, we did short segments. We tried to get 6-mile pieces here and there. Now, next year, again, we're back to where, okay, this whole thing's bad at the same time, so there is a little bit alternating there between a long project that covers, but we can't do that you can't just pick one long project every single year, because everything else falls off the cliff.
Neil, did you have something to add?
Just that as far as what Dirk's got on here, he's got the prep for the paving and the blotter. And if we just did the blotter and didn't use a huge grading, which doesn't sound like you guys got the money to do anyway, you could get this thing 90% safer than it is today for less than $100,000.
Is that an accurate statement?
I don't know about the 90% safer, I mean, but yeah, for $100,000, we can blotter it, I guess. In my position, I can't use those adjectives, so.
Okay.
How many ton of gravel would have to be hauled on there before you could actually make a blotter hold?
Well, we're kind of back to the same thing I said, I haven't looked at the road from that perspective, but I think that number on there is a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches. If you dug out the spots that are way weaker, you know, you can 2 or 3 inches, so you're looking at, it's about, well, that's short of a mile, but at a mile, an inch of gravel is about 500 ton. And 25 ton in place probably right now, so about 12,500 for each inch of gravel.
So just 15,000
Yeah.
would give you a good lift to
Yep.
put it, you know, and the only downfall or drawback that I see with that is that if you spend that money, then if the opportunity came up in 3 or 4 years where somehow miraculously there was money that you wanted to go and actually rebuild it, then you've got that 100,000 tied up in a base and blotter, and that would be the end of it.
Well, the material's there, but you gotta move it all over again.
Right. Well, in that scenario though, back to my comment about preparing it the same for paving or
I mean, if you wanna go back and grade it, and to be quite honest, I'm surprised we went into that much detail about the grading there. I mean, we've done graded like 4 or 5 miles in the whole 20 years that I've been paying attention here, so. But anyway, you'd have to, I guess that amount of money in that scenario that you're talking about, I don't think that's a prohibitive factor, and if you come to the conclusion and say blotter it, I don't think you would say, well, let's not blotter it, because we might do something else in 3 years or whatever. And you don't lose the entirety of that value, because when you mill it up, that asphalt or the oil and stuff that you put in there will be some residual effect to that after you mill it that has some benefit. You follow me there? Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
it would be a backwards way of doing, because you'll do like emulsion injection now, where we'll use some base stabilizer chemical, but you can, when you mill, we can have them inject emulsion oil back into it if we wanted to, and it costs a little more, but it would have that's kind of what you'd end up with, and then you're stabilizing it with bituminous product instead of a different kind of chemical is all you're doing there. So that was a really long, stupid answer. It wouldn't be the most efficient use of that $100 or $100,000, you know, but 3 years down the line, if you milled it up and put it into the grade, I don't think that's a reason not to do it. Not to do a blotter now, because something might come up later.
Well, I hesitate to do this, but it needs to get asked, I guess. You know, we get to tell you what to do if we think it makes sense.
Right.
But you're here to tell us what you think makes sense.
Correct.
You deal with this, you live with this every single day.
Right.
And you're trying to balance everything all the way along.
Yep.
So let me ask the question, that would your opinion of where this would fit into the whole scheme of things, for instance, if you stabilized it and did the blotter, which is roughly $100,000, if there was a cost share that minimized the impact to what we do with your budget to do that? And the reason I ask this, and I'm cautious about even bringing it up, but it has happened, and I'm not trying to necessarily solicit it, but it does make a difference. Just as an example, and I did this several years ago, I live in town, and I have an alleyway, and that's where my garage and everybody else is. The city has a program, they've always had that program, it was gravel for years. The city's program is, if you pay for the asphalt, they'll prep it and they'll maintain it from then afterwards. So I got together with my neighbors, we got $9,000 together, we scheduled it, they prepped it, it got done, we paid for the asphalt, and now it's asphalt.
Sure.
So my question is, if there was a cost share scenario, would that change your perspective a little bit about where it might make sense in the grand scheme of everything else you're responsible for?
It would be nicer, because you wouldn't have the financial, I mean, it would lessen the financial obligation to the county at construction, okay? I'm just telling you what I think about that.
That's why I asked the question.
You're still gonna have the $30,000 obligation in the future that you don't have now.
But we're not gonna be running a grader over every...
Yep.
Pretty minimal, I understand.
I know, and I looked at that before I came up here. I looked at the time card for July 8th.
I know you did.
And he spent an hour, two and a half hours at probably 100, so it's probably about $250 every time he comes out there.
How often is that, though?
Well,
July 8th the last time, when was the last time, or when is he scheduled roughly, you think, again?
Honestly, we since Bruckner retired, we've been picking that up with whoever can get it right now, because we haven't moved all the blades guys around. And incidentally, I had another guy resign this morning, which will impact
It's a moving target.
our blade thing going forward. Couple of weeks, on a normal road, it's 2 or 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe, something like that. There's times during harvest when you have to pick it up a little bit, and when you blade a whole bunch, it ends up, unfortunately with gravel, you got dust or you got rough. It's really hard to have an unrough, not even a word. Well, a good road that's not dusty without treatment with something, but, I'm not done with what you asked me.
Thank you.
The other problem is, or not the problem, the other issue I see with that is if it's paid for in its entirety, I feel way different. Okay? You still are gonna have that $30,000 obligation that you wouldn't have.
How many years out? 3, 4?
If it's a blotter, probably 3. If it's,
If it's pavement, probably 5.
Okay.
And the reason that I say if it's paid for in its entirety, because now we're talking about, we're gonna dedicate county funds that came from everybody to a specific thing because somebody else threw up some money. Now, at face value, that's a good deal. Hell, that's the way the culvert program's gonna work when we get done with it, right? But if we're gonna start, and regardless of how this is gonna sound, this is my
That's why I'm
sentiment,
cautious
but
about
if we're
asking
gonna
the question in the
yeah,
first
I know.
place,
But if we're gonna go down that path, then we should make everyone aware of it and go, hey, we're gonna run our program off the highest bidder now, and whoever wants to come up with money, but that's fine if we make it, and I'm not even being facetious here, I'm
No,
being, this is
I
how
open
I am
Pandora's
filled
box
up.
here. That's fine.
You would make that opportunity available to everybody. Is everybody gonna be able to take? No. And then, if everyone has the opportunity, and the people in Stratford decide they want a road down there upgraded, even though they're all pretty nice right now, they should have well, actually, they'd like to have the road in Stratford, the one going in and off the highway, better. So there'd be an example. So that's the only thing with me is how it looks, and,
I agree.
it kinda looks like we're gonna farm out the highway department and the road program to the highest bidder. Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, what I struggle with on that, when you take a partnership or someone, private individual's money
Right.
to put into a road, at some point in time, somebody potentially could take ownership. In other words, you see somebody coming through there multiple times with loads of corn, and somebody put in $10,000 or $25,000, they're gonna be out there on the road and doing some of the highway department, or maybe some of the sheriff's work, telling them, hey, I got money in this road, I don't want you running on here. And it's gonna happen. I mean, when you put money into something, you're gonna, at some point in time, you're gonna take ownership. And it's a public road, and to me,
No,
it's everybody's road, and...
No, I don't like the idea.
No, I don't like the idea either. And honestly, I don't like what happened on Road 9 up there. You know, I wasn't here, and it doesn't matter what I think about it.
But we lucked out on that one
No,
because the state came in and
Yeah,
roll the dice, I get it.
and really took a hold of the thing. And I mean, I think the county, I guess I fear that with what's going on in the economy right now, granted, with the 15 to 20% inflation, the sales tax revenue is definitely gonna go up. The city's gonna benefit, the state's gonna benefit. I have a fear that the county could end up with more delinquent taxes in the paper, because people are gonna get pinched here. I mean, the handwriting's on the wall, and, so the ability to keep your budget whole with the new jail coming up, with the sheriff's office and what's going on in that whole division of the county, wow, that's a wow moment.
Have I answered your question?
Yeah.
No.
No, 2 words, toll road. Short stretch, but, just kidding.
Dennis, you said something there. Imagine that. The other thing is, my approach, I know that regardless of where the money's been coming from, I know there's been, we've got a lot of federal money for a lot of different things and a bunch of programs and all that kind of stuff. I'm moving forward with the same concept with some tweaks here and there, but it's, I didn't go, oh my goodness, we got this money, let's go for 15 million this year, even though we could easily use it. And part of that is if this doesn't last forever, meaning some of the federal help, which, well, I'm gonna shut my mouth about what it's doing to prices, but where are we gonna be? I mean, I don't wanna sit here and act like we're a bunch of drunk sailors for 3 years and overbuild everything again. And unfortunately, some of it was covered last year, and it's one of the things that frustrates Neil, and it frustrates Doug, and that's milling up those roads. But I started a long time ago going, there's no way in hell that the mechanism that's funding us is gonna support what we got here. And so we started we can move 30-some bridges, $30 million there we didn't have to spend again, and we've switched those roads to gravel, and despite, I know, you gotta go out and have a guy go out and run through there to take care of a gravel road that you don't have to with asphalt, but the cost of doing that is pretty significant. And so when you gotta put all that stuff together and just keep going forward with the same program, and I'm not trying to chip seal more than we can. Hell, we're chip sealing less than we should be.
Well, I want to say, and I appreciate, and we've had this conversation before, and it just needs to be reiterated a little bit and stuff, because there's plenty of situations and times where it's like we don't have enough money, and I know where this happens. It happens with counties, for a variety of different reasons, other places and stuff. We just don't have enough money, so the system kind of shuts down, if you will. And we have opportunities that are frustrating when it comes to federal bridge funds, and all kinds of different things that we wind up putting a bridge in, but, 10 years later, after everybody's habits have changed, and it really makes no sense in that type of thing. And you've done an outstanding job, and you've told us, and you don't complain about what you get for money. You talk about it frankly, about what you can, could, and should be doing. Our highway budget's been inadequate for decades. It's not something that's new. The highway budget, I've been here, you've been here for almost 30 years. It's never been where it's been, and we keep losing ground every year. It's frustrating as hell on an ongoing basis to do this.
Revenues are like this, and costs are like this.
But I want to commend you, because you have taken the attitude and you put it into practice to say, this is what I have for resources. I'm looking at the big picture, and here's what I need to get done, and here's what I'm gonna get done. Whether it's moving projects around and say, okay, we're gonna work with the state on whatever flavor of the year they have for what they are or aren't gonna participate, if they're gonna take federal money and wash it through the state and release some pressure on that, and we're gonna pay for our own bridge instead of waiting 10 years for it. You've done an excellent job of doing that, and I wanna recognize the fact that you do that, and you do that every single day. And as a commissioner, I really appreciate that you do it with that kind of an approach and that kind of an attitude, as frustrating as all of these needs are.
No, and I appreciate the acknowledgement. I mean, I'm gonna come back tomorrow whether you pat me on the back or not.
Well, I don't wanna pat you on the back and see your resignation letter, is what I wanna say.
So
what does it take to do dust proofing?
It's, like on the whole thing there?
Yeah, that 4,300 square feet.
Okay, so if you told me, Dirk, you have to go dust proof that today, we'd go prime it, we'd go shoot road oil on it. I don't like dust proofing because it's kind of fickle. You are at the mercy a lot more of the atmosphere in terms of if we get rain or not. So, and if I had to I don't even have a guess for that whole 4,000, but it's probably like $4,000, or I don't know what that's running at this year.
Well, the problem is, I see it all the time out in the township roads now. More and more of these people are paying for it themselves to keep the dust down.
Yep.
And it's okay if
Yep.
you've got limited traffic and not an excess amount of rain, but what happens is you put a lot of traffic on that in rain, you end up with holes. Unbelievable. That would just it wouldn't stand up out there.
No, and it might take care of the dust, but you do end up with the chuck holes. And the other thing with that, if we're gonna end up with any bituminous in there, like when we did the chip sealing on the drives out there, they had to quit dust proofing for a year ahead of time, and then we had to clean all that out of there, because you have the salt product that's in the road. But I'll get a price for it, Doug, but the thing with it is, sometimes it's awesome. If your humidity's up a little bit, like right now, actually right now, that stuff's probably reactivating where they've had it down.
Oh, definitely it is.
Yeah, but, that, sometimes it works awesome, it's just a little more fickle. So what I've done in the past, if it was something that we were gonna do further work on, we'll go shoot, a kind of road oil on there and basically just, tack it a little bit, and that does a really good job. Well, it's what we did on the city street that the county has up here, Dakota Street. Yeah, we just shot some prime on that.
City street that the county has.
Yeah.
Does that wear off fairly fast, or is that?
The one up there won't on gravel, no, that's 70, that'll stay up there for a while.
But you'll wind up with inconsistencies. There's portions of it that will break up, and you're gonna have
And then
surface
the-
gravel, surface gravel.
And that'd be, let's see, 14,000 times 3.
Just under 45,000.
Oh, that's not right. That's too big. That would be 2,000 times 0.8, 1,600 times 3. Yeah, that's going back in, right? So it'd be like 8 to 10,000 to do that, to just shoot the oil on there. But like Mike says, you'll end up with some little,
It's different, but it'd be like taking 8th Avenue bath,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, we will be dealing with your budget here in the near future, so how about if we take that into consideration?
Just
You know, take into consideration everything that's been discussed and all the input, and see what if anything, we're able to do or wanna do when we approve your budget for next year, and then give you the direction that we find we're able to do.
Okay. I guess I'm hoping that somehow we can wring out or squeeze out 125,000 to,
Slaughter it at least.
Well, that's my thought, what do I tell all these people that signed the petition, tell them that it's just been put on the back burner again, like it did 2 years ago?
Well, unfortunately, Neil, we're in the middle of our budget process, and you've heard the numbers here today. It won't get done this year because it's not in this year's budget. So we've got basically about a month before we have to pass our 2023 budget. So in the next 30 days or less, we as a commission will decide if this is a priority that we want to pursue and direct Dirk to do whatever. But in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be able to give you an answer as to what we feel is
Or
realistic.
can you call me in and let me know, so I can...
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. We'll keep you in the loop.
I've been kind of been
Yep.
appointed as a spokesperson, and I...
Yep. Oh,
We
We understand,
appreciate
and we understand your frustration, but I hope you understand the budget process
Oh,
we
I
have to go
understand
through.
the process, I mean, I know what business is.
Yep, yep.
they've got summer study out in Pier right now. I don't know, is the next meeting on the 27th?
I think it is, yeah.
Tuesday the 27th, or Wednesday the 27th, I think.
That's one.
Be a great place for the public to go out and let those folks out in Pier know that the county's in trouble with revenues just off of property tax. We can't survive when they're taking anywhere from 50 to 75% of the property tax dollars that are paid for the school districts. There's nothing left for the counties, when the water districts and the sanitary sewer districts, all the townships and everybody else, it's not there, let alone the tips to the tune of $1
Well,
million
if
bucks.
the property taxes are going up 10%, you guys are limited to only a 3% increase on your budget from the property taxes?
Yep.
You don't get the 10%, even on what, your portion?
No,
Well,
that's,
and the taxes aren't going up 10%, the
Well,
assessments.
assessment is, you're right.
Right.
But it-
See, but the problem
My
is,
taxes
as the
went up
assessments go
75%
up,
last year, so.
as the assessments go up, our mill levy has to go down to limit the amount that we take in. Because
I mean,
we're
you
capped at 3% or the CPI, whichever's less, like Commissioner Wheat
So
said.
why was that put in place?
It was in 1995, when the tax revolt was ready to happen, is when they put the cap on, to keep commissioners from continually raising the mill levies and taxing people off their properties. That
rather
was the
than
logic
tax
back
reform, they limited what counties could generate.
Without any consideration for where we were at the time.
And actually, what happened at that point, back, what year was it, Mike?
That was the year I started, that was
Yeah.
28 years ago. They were gonna string Richard up.
Literally, we lowered the mill levies that
Yeah,
year
it was in
when the
effect.
outcry was for lower property taxes, and it hit us right between the eyes, because then they put the limit on, and we were stuck with what we had done in lowering the mill levy,
Correct.
and that was our base where we started. So if you just take a hypothetical number, say we're collecting $10 million from the public, that's what they're paying in. We can only, the cost of living, or 3%, whichever's less. That's all we can add on. So if it's 3%, we can collect another $300,000. That's it.
And if I can throw into that, we also lost $480,000 worth of personal property tax replacement money that
That
the
was all at the
state
same
promised
time, yeah.
that they would never take away, and they took that away from us as well. So they capped us plus took $500,000.
And that was a $500,000 back then.
Killing us.
Oh, yeah. Gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So that's why we are where we are today. So we will keep you in the loop, Neil.
Thank you for being
Thank
patient.
you. All right. You're up again. Highway Department Bridge Inspection Resolution and update.
Keeps getting better, huh?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Dakota News now.
There.
Well, I don't know this guy either, but he didn't want a sheet, so I thought I'd be all right.
Well, I'm gonna take a moment to introduce my son.
Oh,
He's currently serving the Army in Belgium, and he's home for a wedding this weekend, so.
All right. Thank you.
You're spending your Tuesday here.
Yeah, really.
I'm gonna come in and see how county government
Yeah.
operates.
You think NATO's a mess? We'll have you fill out the survey on the way out. Okay.
Thanks for your service.
He serves on NATO headquarters in Mons, Belgium.
Yeah, that's
Pretty awesome. Okay. Okay, first off, what do I have on there? That bridge resolution. Once I figured out what they were asking me for, I already had, so that got taken care of. Everything's fine. We don't need it.
It's in the packet.
Yeah, you don't need to do it.
Okay,
You don't need to do it.
okay.
That's the wrong document.
So this is the wrong document.
Yes.
We'll shred that.
Just get rid of it.
Okay.
You want it here?
No,
You take care of it.
I've already lost it several times.
It's now your responsibility.
We'll get rid of
back
it.
to it.
I don't need it. That's
We'll get
not,
rid of
it's not the right one.
We're on a tight ship here.
Yeah. Well, those, cut 15 positions. Lucky I found my way to the courthouse today.
There you go.
So everything else I have would just be a little department update. Just a few things. The water's coming down, that's good. Jim River's down to 21, Crow Creek's at 20, so they're gonna stay about an inch apart, and everything's just coming down together. Road 7A, we're working on that today. That's the one on the south side of the refuge that's been underwater. We get that one back open last night, and we're just finishing up today. And the state line is still underwater, but that should come out within the week. And 25 down there in Rondell. There's one more. Oh, 16B below the church. Those are all still.
I still got a road closure update.
Yeah, those are all still closed, but, working on Road 20 up here, that's the other thing, we're gonna go pave next, these 2 miles. We milled them up last year because it was just a disaster, and then the water came up. It actually worked out good, because now the water kinda got out of there, and it's dropping a little bit, so I'm hoping next week we'll pave that.
You got lucky in one.
Yeah, it's, this is another road where, back when I came back in 14, 15, we salvaged whatever we could in there that was decent. We blotted whatever we could, and the stuff that we had to pave, we did. But that is a mixed bag, but, it's okay. But these last 2 miles, we had to mill them up last year because of the water was high, and it just killed the road. So we're fixing that, and then we'll go to a little bit of chip sealing. August, what's the Tuesday in August? That would be like the 9th or...
2nd, 9th, and 16th.
So the 9th of August, we're gonna bid this project up here, the back road into the lake. And I'm not 100% sure we're gonna award that. We're gonna look at what the numbers look like, and I've been communicating with School and Public Lands a little bit, where everybody's a little nervous on what that number might look like. And they're also gonna purchase, a lot of this will be, there'll be supplied materials, like the state's gonna buy the pipe from us, and if we have to have additional materials, they'll buy them from us, and then we'll supply them to the contractor in the project. It's just a little, makes it easier for them to use the money that they have earmarked for it, if we do it that way. Worst case scenario, or it's not really a bad scenario, but if we end up doing that, I'm gonna talk with Glenn Spitzer up in McPherson County and see how busy they are, because they're really good at building those kind of roads. They have a lot of experience, way more experience than we do. The only one we've ever really built from scratch is a landfill road that goes into Mike's little garden out there. And so...
If that gets awarded, they're likely to have to set up a plant?
Say that again?
If that gets awarded, somebody's gonna likely have to set up a plant?
No.
And we're not close to one, are we?
No, this piece, this next year,
Yeah.
they will set a plant, somebody will move it in unless
the local guys.
Right.
Leans could, you know, they could do it from here. Jensen's has another mobile plant, they would maybe put up here, at like bituminous or somebody. Yeah, I mean, it's a big enough,
But it's a
it would
bit-
be a big enough amount that somebody would set up a plant there and do it.
Okay.
Which would make it a little less expensive, less trucking, obviously.
That
But anyway,
new road, does that lead into a GF&P boat ramp and dock?
Yeah, it does.
That's, is
That's-
that GF&P? Or is
Well-
that school and public land?
Okay, well, we own the land. First off, it's
It's our
county,
land.
it's county's land.
Okay.
I don't know the nature of the agreement with Game and Fish, but I'm assuming, good luck,
Yep.
but I'm assuming it's, one of those perpetual or a very long-term easement. What's his name? Rhett Russell's the access guy.
Yep.
And he's actually a guy I've known for a long time. He's from down south there too. But, he came in the other day and we talked about a little things. They aren't super excited. They, obviously, everybody would have loved that 5 seconds after the bridge came out that we had the road built. But I visited with him a little bit about that, and so, I don't know how that agreement works, but they have some right or permission or whatever, however the agreement's to have their dock in there, but the county owns all the property. School and Public Lands comes in because they own the dam part of it. And I would doubt that there's an agreement somewhere, but in essence, School and Public Lands sort of has their auxiliary spillway on the county property too, as well as the county owns that whole 80 acres down to, Arlene's place down there. You know, we own that whole land, so it's there's another example, county owns the land, somebody else owns what's sitting on the land, but, you know, that's sort of how that gets
The
divided
city
up
has
there.
water rights.
And the city has water rights.
And then, School and Public Lands ended up with excess money after the dam and bridge project, or dam project, and that's where that money is available.
Okay. To
Yep.
pay for this road.
As well as, okay, I'm sorry, you said School and Public Lands and Game and Fish though.
Game and Fish.
Right, now, again, all that money's kinda sitting over here and it'll get handed out, but School and Public Lands obviously is involved, and then, but some of that money will also come from Game and Fish because I'm talking about this stuff in generalities, but they have funds for their access that they were gonna dedicate to this in the aftermath of moving the dam anyway, so there's some of that will come from both sources, from what I understand.
The ultimate joint
So-
adventure.
So the outreach to get the contractors notified, will it be just simple posting in the paper, or how does that take place?
So, well, first off, nowadays, to give you an example, you know, the auction we had with Jarks, we did some stuff with Jark Auction. They hit all 50 states and like 7 countries. Okay, that's my example, is what technology has done with that. I could go back to my office and send out an email and get it as wide spread as we want, but IMEG has been working on it with us, and so they have a clearinghouse. There's like a regional builders clearinghouse in, like, let's just say Bismarck or Fargo or something, and it's a regional deal where they reach out.
Disseminate all that information.
Yep. Now, the size of that job, whether or not you're gonna, I mean, I would assume we're gonna end up with local or regional, maybe Foothills, or maybe Bob, or, you know, I don't know, B&B, all that.
Martin.
Yeah. Well, now, and then you bring up Martin, that's another one. If we go our own, if we end up doing this with, you know, Glenn, and he's somebody that I was gonna call down to help us as an hourly guy too, because he's got those TS-14s, and those are small enough, they'd work good in there, you know, so. So if we don't end up with something that's feasible as one big giant deal, come do it, then it's gonna be hopefully us and some help from McPherson County, maybe Craig Martin and whoever else I can round around. Mike's got a bunch of scrapers and stuff too, but.
And extra help. And he can sacrifice.
Yeah, and he has plenty of people, so.
And money.
And money? Oh, yeah, I know.
Every time we
And
use
dirt?
if we use his money, then the state doesn't give it any of ours back, so be
Yeah, I know.
cautious about that.
No, I found that as a cautionary tale on that last grant, you know, for the equipment that time, so.
Yeah.
Okay, what did we start out talking about there? That's the road. I think that's all I wanted to say. I wanna touch quickly on a couple other things. One's, Ross had gotten, some notification from BDM about, we were just discussing a little bit, we haven't had any time to talk to it or follow up with them really, to see exactly what the intent is, but it's a rather specific and a little bit more, I don't know how you'd say it, but it's a lot more than what we normally do for like a right-of-way occupancy to, you know, just to put in a water line or a new pipe, so, but just to let you know, we're discussing with that to see, it might not be anything, it's just the way this is worded, it's like how you'd word it when you're starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll get into it more, it's just to make you aware of it.
So does BDM have water line in our right-of-way now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's a little, you know, but they're also they do a really good job and they're very thorough on the information they've given me for things in the past, so but just to make you aware of it. And then I'm just gonna touch quick on the culvert thing again, that we've been kinda hitting every week here. We were waiting this week, we were hoping to get, there's gonna be a couple of, different ways you can apply, you know, the townships can apply, and I always think about Larry Stroshine in the FEMA meetings, getting on his phone and saying, you know, we're flip phone farmers, you can't make this too complicated. So, the process here is the state's making one that you can do electronically, so if you have somebody involved at the township level that can sit and fill out the application, that's great, or you can print that out, fill it out by hand,
The fillable form.
and use that.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I'm fine, you know, the towns and township folks weren't super happy with how quickly this, you know, the paperwork that you need to fill out to apply for your culvert was rolling out, so they had gone ahead and kind of pushed it a little bit and came up with their own document that I brought in here a few weeks ago. And they kind of had that discussion towards the end of last week, and the state said, just chill out for a minute, we'll get this done hopefully this week, and they'll have the process. So if you want to do it electronically, you can at the township level. My thing was, they're just gonna come into us and we're gonna review these documents, so, you know, whatever, you can call up and go the one 2 miles down the road. And
They haven't changed the law any of that, if you don't have an opt-out, you can't apply.
no, I'm gonna talk about your township here in a second. Okay, so that's,
You're gonna get out of this easy.
yes. So basically, if we get the form and the go-ahead, and the money's in our account here, you know, we should be getting whatever that is, $152,000 to start. And, then we'll have the document, as far as I know, whatever that day is, which I think is the last day in August maybe, then they should be ready to, they can apply for, they being the townships can apply for the culverts. Now, we have 44 townships, 27 of them right now are eligible for the program. There's 17 that aren't because of the opt-out or the, road, what's the other one, 50 on 1,000 road levy. And out of those 17 townships that don't qualify right now, it accounts for 44 pipe, or 44 structures.
That would qualify if they were.
If that, that, you know, would be ones that would be eligible if, you know, they made the changes. Now, and then I'll also throw in, out of the 17, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them don't have any. So really, we're only talking about 10 townships. And then out of those 10, one has 2, one has 1, one has 2. So basically, on the people that aren't in the program that actually have a few pipe, you're looking at Frederick and Osceola and Garland townships, Mercier. You know, there's a few that have 6 or 8 of them, but they're not in the program. So that's gonna bring up the question someday, when one of those blows out. In the past, we've done them, and again, as you've heard me say several times, we were kind of going above and beyond now, so the townships are, from a financial standpoint, are still gonna be okay, but they have to do more to get the pipe in than just call us. So, I don't know what we're gonna do when one of those 10 goes out and the township just can't put them in, or doesn't, or whatever, I don't know. Because it will, you know how the drainage works around here, it won't just be that one pipe that's the problem, it'll
Well, that's part of that's the main reason why we participate the way that we do, is because it's all an intertwined system, just because this particular Montrose Township and this one's county and stuff, but it would also beg the question, if that additional money wasn't there at all in the first place, what would we do?
What we would do?
We'd go do it.
Yeah,
We'd do it.
and that's where the dichotomy's gonna end up, because we got these 10 townships, or 17 in theory. I mean, I know, and actually, I'm gonna speak on this a little bit at our meeting on Thursday, Dwayne asked me to. I'm gonna ask that question to the, you know, the other commissioners and stuff.
But it's the same thing the state does, the same thing the state does with us, with, you know, if you have a wheel tax or not, you're eligible
Yeah.
for funds or not.
Yep.
And the same thing that the feds do, and, you know, it's not only roads, it's with water projects and things like that. If you want, you know, some grant or some low-interest funding for it, your water and wastewater rates have to be at a certain level for local contribution, or they just say no.
Yep, yep. Or our example we just used on,
Right.
you know, same thing. Everybody wants you to have skin in the game, to some extent.
Yep.
So you know, just kick that around. We don't need to solve it today, and, you know, I don't know, but, I mean, in theory, those townships, their situation as far as their pipe though, the big pipe just got a lot worse for them, because,
Well, for counties where the county doesn't help or participate, the townships are left to their own resources, if they have people, you know,
Yep.
that are on top of it and applying for it and stuff, it's a good thing.
yep,
For us, where we find it beneficial and almost necessary for us to be able to manage it, so we have some consistency in, you know, how those things flow. It's been beneficial to us, because those that do have that local effort within their township qualify, so instead of us just picking it up,
right,
they get an opportunity to get partial, if not complete reimbursement for it. And the others need to be made aware that, you know, it makes it easier for us to do those things when they come up, if they have some skin in the game and they might want to consider doing it.
and that sort of leads into another thing. I said earlier that, and I don't know if Eric was listening to the meeting, or that I had somebody resign this morning. So even before that happened, I was gonna come in and go, well, maybe that's part of the budget discussion too, but I was gonna look at adding a couple guys. Now, my justification for adding a couple guys, other than that I've probably cut too many, is, looking at this culvert deal. So, I wanna be able to, we used to do a lot of them, then we kinda got away from it, from what I could tell in the wet years, 'cause it was just so many. And, in the wet years, you know, since the county was formed. But I was looking at, you know what, why don't we just add a couple guys? I'll just get a couple entry-level guys, then that'll free up,
Or gals.
or gals, a couple entry-level folks, to...
Trying to help you along.
Thank you. I'm a walking lawsuit waiting to happen, right?
Gender's tough now.
Yeah, I know it is.
You probably just have to call them individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, workers. Well, I saw them not working one time, so you can't call them workers. Anyway, I wanted to add a couple guys, and then I was thinking, well, then we'll be able to dedicate, okay, if it gets to be too cumbersome trying to get the contractors to do this, we'll just kinda go back to what we were doing, we're putting them in, but we'll probably have to take some of the townships by the hand and go, come here, come fill this out and get this so I can replace your pipe, and then we'll be able to access that money and just pay ourselves with it.
Right, same here.
So, that might be coming down the pipe, but I haven't even talked to Eric at all to tell her what's going on, so it's nothing big, just a guy that resigned, and I'm
That's
down to
really
the
kind of
bottom.
a goofy program, you know, if you don't have an opt-out, or you're 50 cents,
Yep.
and then the township's able to survive. So you put the opt-out on just in hopes that you're gonna get money, but you may not get money if the other townships beat you to it.
Right.
So,
No,
what's the point?
I know what you mean, whenever that comes up, or that argument, whether it's the wheel tax argument for the big program or this, and I actually heard you complaining the other day that, well, that sucks, you're out of money, but you gotta raise taxes in order to qualify so you can get more money. I mean, I understand how goofy that is, but I always go back to when, and this has been a while ago, but Frederick's water main blew out, right in Main Street, and the next morning, no water, because the main blew, drained the entire
Mhm.
water tank, they had no pressure, and they had no water. And, oh my God, it's an emergency, we need some money, we gotta get this in, all of our stuff. So we haven't, you know, all this, and the state said, okay, and they came in and they looked at the situation, they said, yes, okay, we'll get you $2.5 million grant or forgivable loan, or whatever the hell the program was. However, we have noticed that you have not raised your water or your...
That's what I said.
or your sewer fees for like 35 years, and there's been no reinvestment back into the system. So, they're like, okay, so you're just gonna wait, and we're gonna wait, oh my God, we have an emergency, you gotta come help us, we have an emergency. Well, yeah, it's kind of a slow developing one. So, I mean, I get that, I totally understand that, what you're saying, but, yeah, I know. It's silly, and that's, no matter what the program is, okay? Even this culvert program, the overall, in the most general sense, it looks exactly like the old federal bridge program did.
Well, sure, that's the model.
And that's always, because that's all we ever had for the standard for a million years, was the old federal bridge program. So whenever we do something, well, you gotta make sure you have this, and you have this, and
Bureaucratic solution.
well, it's what it is.
Yep.
You know, and we can go full socialism and just completely stratify all of it with nobody has to do anything, and we'll just come fix it all, and,
Yeah, let's wait till next week.
yeah, that's gonna pencil out too, so, okay. I'm done here on what I was gonna talk about. I don't understand the budget meeting, does that just come after you guys close your, or you,
Yep,
adjourn?
we'll adjourn, and then we'll have our
And then you
budget
do,
hearing.
So we're
talk
work
to whoever.
session. Work session, okay.
Yep.
Is that, do you do that right after the meeting, or?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, so if
Are
it's
you
gonna be
is he
colorful, we'll
first
sell
on the
tickets.
list for,
I've got a list.
You don't want me first on the list. Everybody else, I mean, Mike's already pacing around, and he's been here for like
I have a meeting at 11:30.
I know how you feel about. the
Planning and
budget.
zoning, emergency management, team court, landfill, road and bridge.
Holy,
Your last.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We got
do you
five
have any
today.
surprises?
you're gonna have 2 minutes.
It's just, it's not a surprise, the numbers are gonna, when you see, which I don't know if he got them to you yet, 'cause I just got it to him this morning. So, the initial number is gonna be, you're gonna go, what are you doing? But there's some anticipated revenue coming in, so
Yeah.
I'll talk about it. All right,
All right, thanks, Dirk.
thank you guys, that was fun.
Yeah.
Next time we're selling tickets.
All right, brings us to the end of our listed agenda items. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Dave?
Approval of general meeting minutes for July 12th, 2022.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Approved claims and payroll.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Weiss, second by Pikert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Yeah, approval of HR report.
Move.
Motion by Gage.
There we go.
Second by Pikert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The LEMPD quarter 3 report.
Move. Motion by Fikert. Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Out-of-state travel request.
Move it.
Hanson.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And approval of Boys and Girls Club malt beverage application.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? We will need an executive session to discuss legal and personnel and possibly contracts.
Move. Second.
Hold the picture of this. Oh, under other business, I'm sorry, we've got to back up. We were provided, it was in the packet, the list of fare tickets that are provided, and...
That's carnival tickets only though, isn't it?
These are Carnival, yes, yes.
I'll move it.
And then in addition to that, on the list, I think that we approved last week of fare tickets, she inadvertently missed the commission, so we need to add the commission to the they're on every year,
My
so.
motion reflects that.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion by Fikert to approve the Carnival and Fair Board ticket list. Did you second it, Doug? I'm sorry.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Now, we have a need for exec for legal, personnel, and possibly contracts.
I motioned it.
Okay, we have a motion by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Weiss to go into executive session. We are in exec.
Out to a fire.
All right, we're out of exec. The only other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is we did receive a letter from the Department of Ag and Natural Resources, basically rescinding the CAFO permit, a general permit termination for, Randy Bauer feedlot out by Mina, because, Mr. Fikert has purchased that property and is not interested in continuing as a CAFO, so that permit is being rescinded. Everyone's information? Okay. Last week or the week before, I can't remember, the minutes reflect that we designated Brock Hoyle as the designated person in the auditor's office to sign checks that require 2 signatures, but there's other documents that the auditor has to sign off on and as auditor, so I recommend that we appoint Brock as that person. I checked with him, he's okay with that responsibility until a new auditor is put in place. So I would entertain a motion to that effect.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Weiss, second by Gage, to designate Brock as the designated signer on any auditor-related required signatures. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Yep. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission? We have budget sessions directly after this, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion by Fikert,
Second.
second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.